Welcome back, everyone. My name is Judy Blake, and we are in the final portion of session 4 for leadership and advocacy classes for Family to Family Network. We are very excited to present our 2 final presentations. Ricky Broussard, who is an outstanding advocate, a friend, and wants to share his amazing story of self-determination. And I have been honored to know Ricky these last several years, and I must tell you, his story is so moving and so powerful that it is so important that you hear what he has to say. I really wanted to give him more time, and normally he takes an hour to share his story, but because of the pandemic and because we had to shorten our classes, I could only allow him so much time. But please know that because he is kind of moving through his story more quickly, it isn't because I don't value what he has to say. It's just because we had to shorten everyone's time. Once he is finished, we are going to talk about the importance of employment with the amazing Norine Gill, and you are going to hear about customized employment, how we make that happen, and how we talk about success in the workplace. So I am so honored to know you, Ricky. I am so happy to have you share your story with our audience, and many thanks to you for being here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I really appreciate all those kind words. Okay.
My pleasure.
And thanks for that.
We love you, Ricky.
I love you too. And I'm also glad to be here. And actually I'm gonna have Miss Norine be my hands and everything. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky Broussard. I work for Imagine Enterprises. I am the peer mentor for Imagine Enterprises. And I'm going to talk to you today the 5 principles of self-determination. And that's support, confirmation, authority, responsibility, and freedom. And these are the 5 principles of self-determination, and I'm going to talk to you how they have helped me out in my life.
Yeah. Well, Ricky and I have been talking about self-determination for probably the last ever since you started working for Imagine, and even before then, because you were contracting, right?
Yes.
So it's a popular word. We hear it a lot of different places, and not everybody knows what it means. So self-determination to you, Ricky, what is it? What has self-determination done for you?
It has given me the freedom to choose where I want to live, to choose who touches my body and come into my home.
Yeah. Right, and that control over a lot of those decisions related to that. So that's I think knowing what self-determination is really important.
Yes.
So this is a little bit about your job.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I'm the peer mentor for Imagine Enterprises, and I do the pre-TS. And where myself and Norine, we talked to several students we had, and I talked to them about self-advocacy, and I talked to them about self-determination.
Yeah. But that hasn't always been your job. Your job has changed over the last 11 years now that you've worked for Imagine?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we're excited to have you as credentialed trainer under the Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehabilitation to teach students. So that's really cool.
Yes.
So where did this all start, Ricky?
Well, at the age of 10, I had to leave home, not because I wanted to, and not because my family wanted me to. Uh, we didn't have the waiting list enough, so I lived in 4 large facilities, and
So did you want to skip this video, or did you want me to try to show it? Do you
uh,
think we have time?
uh,
Or we can show it maybe later. It is a video that you took that was actually presented on PBS
yes.
regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act. And Judy, you should have that in your materials, okay, because it's in the PowerPoint.
So okay, like 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 I said, I left home at the age of 10, and for the next uh, for the next 29 years of my life, I I lived in 4 facilities.
I have to
And
tell you, Ricky, that picture of you is still cute. As many times as we present it when you were 10, what a darling.
thanks a lot. But and the first facility that I lived in was uh, Bob Hope School in Port Arthur, Texas, and um, yeah, it's I lived with 100 so of people, and we they had a dormitory for men and women, and for us they I was in the dormitory with the men, and they had our beds lined up against the wall, and and um when it was time for us to take a shower, I took a shower in like a big old bathroom, like a gym, and I did not have the privacy like I have now. And then when it was time for us, okay,
Oh,
okay,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and then when it was time for us to go in the dining room, we would all go to the dining room, and we would line up and go to the front and get our food and bring it back to the table. And and I and so after I go, and after I did that, for me to take my medication, I had to go down to the nurse's station, and I had to wait in line, and for my meds.
Right.
And you can go to the next slide, please.
So the Port Arthur School is still there, right?
Yes, it's still there.
But it's very similar to what some people refer to as they're now called state supported living centers.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very much the same kind of residential environment, and also has the school and everything attached to it. So very similar to that.
Right. And then in 2007, that's when that's when my name came up on the waiting list, and I I was I I was the president of Texas Advocates, and then I had to give our annual speech to thousands of people. We were out there on Capitol steps, and we were chanting, "In the waiting list, in the waiting list." And that day it was very cold, and uh, we were talking to the legislators and out there, and we were asking them in the waiting list, and I actually got my call at 10:45 on February 8th of 2007. And so when I actually got my call, I was very excited to get my call, and I got my support team people together, and we celebrated, and I and I moved on. Go to the next slide, please. Freedom. Uh, Freedom is one of the most important uh, confirmations to me, is where I'm able to say who comes to my home and when I want them to, and who touches my body, because we all know you your son and daughter, they have the same rights like we all do. But people with disabilities, we all communicate different ways and stuff, you know, by sign language, body language, or communication boards, and it's that is very important to have the freedom to say what you want to eat, or when you're ready to go to bed and stuff like
Right.
that. Next slide, please, man. And then um, I also have the freedom uh, to live my life, and I have the freedom because I have my own van. I don't drive, but I have my my staff that drive for me, and um, I I was this is like my third or fourth van, and I'm working on saving up enough money for my next van, but I I use I use my van to travel to do presentations and go across Texas and do presentations like I'm doing today, and I love it. Next slide, please. And then um, having my own van, I get to, you know, spend time with my family and friends, and especially on holidays. And you know, I travel for work and see different places around the state of Texas. And I actually, you know, can have Norine drive me when I needed to because we always travel together sometimes. And I love it. It's just to have that freedom to go and to have your own vehicle, and I don't have to wait on on, you know, public transportation, because uh, when you once you're waiting on transportation, you have to call them to set it up and tell them when you want to be there and tell them when to come back. So I don't have to be in a hurry to get where I want to be, and I don't have to leave in a hurry.
Right. So just to clarify for anybody who might have a question, Ricky owns the title to his van, and he has paid for the van primarily with his own funds. And so he is the actual owner of your van, right? And you do use that a lot for work, but also for all your personal needs. And you are using an ABLE account to save the funds. So that is something that is more and more people are starting to use. And then y'all had a question earlier today about a person who is on SSDI and still on a question about being on the Medicaid waiver. Ricky is now on his SSDI, and because he has contributed so many quarters into the system. So, and he is still using the HCS Medicaid waiver. So that is possible. Okay. All right, Ricky.
Okay. And then um, when I used to live in a group home, um, I, I I I shared the house with three men and three women, and we could go to the game, but I would have to leave in the middle so the staff can, you know, leave and do a shift change. But now since I have my own van, I was able to go, you know, see the Astros, and and they were down like 3-0, and they came back like in the ninth inning, and I was able to see Altuve hit that home run, and see if I had to leave in the middle of the game, I wouldn't have been able to see that hit that home run because I would have to leave. But I was able to stay there because I have my own van, and I also use the consumer director services.
Yeah, which means that you actually, the guy that's next to you in the red and white shirt is your staff person that you hire.
Yes, and his name is Mr. Collins, and he works with me on the weekend, and myself, Norine, and that's Norine's brother right there in front of Ron. We were able to see the game, and I was happy that we were able to see the game and actually stay for the ending. On my 40th birthday, my co-workers and friends, they gave me a surprise birthday party, and instead of everybody giving me gifts, they all gave me money to help me put down a down payment for my van, and I was so happy to have that. And this is like my third or fourth van. And ladies and gentlemen, I you all know having your own transportation is wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
All right.
Support. Oh, we all need supports in our life, and I need help. Getting up in the morning, getting dressed, help in the shower, and uh, have supports to take me out in the community and help me do the things that I want to do in my life. Uh, uh, Supports, we we all need them, and when we need help, we can call on people that that we know that'll support us and help us with our dreams and goals. And this uh this is my circle support, and without my circle support team out here, there's no way I could do all the stuff that I'm doing right now. And I'll call out a couple of them for you. Uh, there's Robert. Uh, Robert's also my other staff that works with me. He works with me Monday through Friday, and Robert helps me, you know, get dressed, and he also helps me to get on a computer, and he also travels with me to Austin a lot when I go to Austin. And then I also have um, um, my Aunt Bryn. My Aunt Bryn, she comes over sometimes, and she cooks leftovers. And we all know when you have the leftovers the next day, they actually taste real good. And then I have Ashley. Um, Ashley Nichols, she's my supported employment specialist. She helps me well with my presentations also sometimes, and we've traveled and we've done presentations. And then I also have okay, and let me back up. And Noreen, please correct me if I'm wrong. Um, Ashley, Robert, and Ron, I'm I'm their boss, and I pay them. Now, there's two more people that I'm going to talk to you about, and the the first person I'm going to talk to you about is Cheryl. Cheryl
Oh,
uh, Cheryl Harris. She worked for Imagine also, but what Cheryl does for me, she did she helps me with my consumer directed services, and 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 helps me make sure she helps me set up my budget, and with the budget, out of that budget, that's what I pay Mr. Robert, and that's what I pay Miss Ashley and Mr. Ron. And then also I want to also talk to you about real quick, um Sandy uh Sandy Smith. Sandy Smith, her and Norine, we've been together for a long time. When I have a problem, like when I get a letter from the Social Security office, I can I can call Sandy, and she'll tell. I say, would you please read this and tell me what do I need to do, and because she knows people at the Social Security office that can help us figure out the problem uh, when we have a problem or whatever. And I really appreciate that.
yeah. Ricky, when Michelle was talking about the community work incentive counselors, the CWICs,
Yes.
That's what Sandy is. She has that Social Security credential
Mm-hmm.
that allows her to, that says that she knows this information. And so Michelle mentioned that the people at the Houston Center for Independent Living, but there's a lot of other people that have that
Right.
criteria or that qualification. So Sandy's a CWIC. So just
Yeah.
thinking back to what Michelle was saying.
Okay.
Okay, that was good.
Next slide, please. And then here's Mr. Robert. You know, like I said, Mr. Robert, he helps me Monday through Friday. He helps me here in the home, and he also, you know, takes me on my doctor's appointment, and he also travels with me to Boston, and you know, he helps me in when I need help with other things too. Me and Robert, we've actually been together, I want to say about
Since
30.
2007, you almost hired. No, I guess 2009 is when you actually hired him.
Yeah, 2009.
Okay.
So,
So 11, yeah.
yeah, it's been about
Oh,
11
wow.
years. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Okay.
And then my aunt Bran, she comes over and she spends time with me, and like I said, I like spending time with my family, and a matter of fact, yesterday was my birthday, and everybody was calling me, and me and my friend, we were talking about, you know, all the good times that you know we had with my grandma and stuff. So we were laughing yesterday. We were having a good time, and it was good to you know FaceTime her, because we did a FaceTime call yesterday, so it was good. Then Norine, me and Norine, we work together. We do a lot of presentations together, and when I'm not with Norine, I give her permission to talk about me, and she vice versa. She gives me permission to talk about her. But the presentations that I do, I do presentations on Social Security, and then I also do presentations on advocacy, and that's what I do for Imagine also, and
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. And then the Consumer Director Services. Uh, I love. I have the option to do the Consumer Director Services, and that's one of the options that Imagine offers. Responsibilities.
Oops.
Did I go to it?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry.
That's right. Responsibility. I have the responsibility. Excuse me, Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But I have the responsibility to make sure that I let my staff know what I have to do on my schedule, so they can make sure that I'm there on time, and I have the responsibility to make sure that I pay my bills on time, because we all know if you don't pay your bills on time, your lights gonna get cut out or something gonna get cut out. So when I that's one of the main things that I do. I make sure that I take care of the most important things first, and then what the my personal my own what I for my personal own what I do is I love. Can you help me out, please, Norine?
Yeah. This is about being responsible to yourself and doing the things that you know keep you healthy and safe, and that's your personal responsibility. The things to yourself, and then when you look at the word responsibility, okay, that is how you respond your ability to be able to respond to what happens in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So personal is you own it, and being able to respond, having that ability to respond to other things that may happen and then take responsibility for it is how we perceive it.
Thank you.
And that you're able to do that in a way that makes you feel like you're still in control.
Yes. And then I give back. And what do I mean by giving back? I give back to my community, and I use responsibility wisely. And like I said, I make sure before I do anything, I make sure I pay my bills, and I make sure I pay my rent, and make sure that I have groceries.
Yeah, and the reason why this does come up a lot for you is because under consumer directed services, you have a lot of control over your own budget.
Right.
And when we've talked with legislators, there's always the issue of Medicaid fraud coming up, and the feeling that if people have more control over their funds, that they're going to misuse it. Mm-hmm. And so that's why responsibility is such an important part of the self-determination is that we know when we have taxpayer dollars paying for stuff and to use those things responsibly.
True.
So, you know, that's and being able to share that in a meaningful way with decision makers is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is paying those bills, right, Ricky?
Make sure you got to pay those bills on time.
And the other part of your responsibility is earning money.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's because you didn't want to live in poverty all your life, so you decided that you needed to earn money as well.
Yes. And then, you know, and you know, I'm able to, you know, get things that I want and need, and that's what I really like about it too. You know, I have the money, and you know, long as I take care of my responsibilities first, then I can, you know, buy a pair of pants or a shirt. So, but I most definitely make sure I take care of the most important things, and you know that's my bills and my insurance on my car. And schedule. Sometimes my schedule can get crazy sometimes, so I have to make sure that I have a schedule for myself and my staff, so I can let my staff know where I need to be and what time. So I have to keep it scheduled because I have to make sure that when it's time for me to travel, I have to make sure I have somebody, you know, here or vice versa. I may, me and Robert, we may ask Ron to come in, you know, Monday night because I'm leaving out on Tuesday. So we work out their schedule that way. Then real work. When I used to work at the shelter workshop, I used to put nuts and bolts on a pole, and I would put 25 on a pole, and then once I do the 25, I would do 25 more, and then for every 2 weeks, I would get paid $1.50 for 2 weeks. But now I love my job and I get paid pretty well. Authority. Authority is having the authority over my life, and to, you know, take that control, because I finally have that authority to say how I want things to go, and authority is one of the other most important piece about the principles of self-determination. taking control of my own life. I like having the control. But ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, I have control, but I have people in my circles to help, you know, to because if there's something big, I can call on Norine, and she'll tell me the pros and cons. But at the end of the day, um, I after I have everything thought out, I'll make the final decision. Next slide, please. And then when when I well, when I'm you when I used to live in a group home, I and I was out when I was sick or whatever. I couldn't stay there by myself because the staff had to be there, but they would have to find somebody to stay there with me. But now I'm able to call call my boss and say I don't feel well today, so I want to take the day off and
Yeah.
take the whole day or half a day.
Right.
And health. Okay, I kind of talk.
That's all right.
Uh, and I always say nothing about me without me. If I'm not in the room, and if I don't give you permission, you can't talk about me. But if I am in the room, and I give you permission, yes, you can talk about me. Because nobody shouldn't be making decisions without you being there. You should be in the room uh, when they make some big decisions, because it's for you. It's not going to be them for them. It's for you. Confirmation. This is the most important one. The other one to me, I would say confirmation is being listened to and also being respected. When I used to go to Austin a lot, and because I was asked to, sit on all these committees, and there were times that I thought that because they knew they had to have somebody there with a disability, but there were times that I thought they had me there uh, because of token, but I'm not a token. So and everybody know me now up there in Austin, and so okay. And here's Representative Weber, and this is my Texas Advocate Group. We were there to speak to Mr. Ed Thompson, and the other representative in this other picture with me is Garvin. Is that Garvin?
Larry Gonzalez.
Larry Gonzalez, and he, I spoke to him on how important it is for self advocacy and support. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all of these gentlemen have been, like especially Representative Thompson in education issues, Mr. Gonzalez and the peer support issues and Medicaid. So there's so many people making decisions that impact our lives every day. So you're a voice of a person who's a self-advocate.
Yes. And I have I have a voice to make a choice about my future, and that's my slogan that I say in the class every day to the students, and because we all have a voice, and we all do have a choice, about our future and stuff. And so, is that it for me, Miss Norine?
Yeah, well, you're at the end of your slideshow, and you're right. Just so, this semester, using because of the COVID stuff, you're using virtual training. And this semester, I think we have 47 students that you're working with.
Yes.
And giving presentations. So these are people who are still in public school, and you're teaching them about the importance of self-advocacy as their primary class, but also the importance of work and under work readiness. Yeah.
And
cool.
and I want to thank you, Miss Judy, and thank.
Oh, always a pleasure,
you,
Ricky. And I forgot to wish you a belated happy birthday. I did post it on Facebook. And I love your chant. Is it okay? I took a picture of it. Of course, that worked out. Chant.
Yeah.
Can I post it on Facebook? I really love that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is that okay with you? Yeah, it was really extraordinary. And, you know, one of the many reasons that I love for everyone possible to hear your story is because there's so many things that most of us take for granted. You know, what we want to eat for breakfast, staying through to the end of a game. That you mentioned, the baseball game, having a drink, having your beer. You know, I'm not a beer drinker, but I couldn't imagine life without my strawberry margaritas, you know? And so often we take those things for granted. And, or how do you want your eggs prepared? I remember you telling that story. And when somebody asked you that, you were like, oh my God, somebody's actually asking me how I want my eggs prepared.
Right.
And you know, that should never be like something that you have to wish for. It should be something that's just expected.
Right.
And I just thank God every day that you finally are living the life that you deserve. Because that is so important.
That is true.
And you know, it truly matters. So I love your story. I applaud you, Ricky. I'm in awe of you. And I'm just so grateful for the impact that you have. Ricky, someone had asked a question, which Medicaid waiver do you have?
I do the Consumer Directed Services.
But it's with HCS.
HCS. Okay, yeah. HCS. Okay.
Medicaid waiver.
Yeah.
And previously, the places you lived in were considered what's called, I don't know if y'all know the acronym ICF, Intermediate Care Facilities.
Yeah.
So that is the same status as a state supported living center or state school. So the emancipation day was the moving to the HCS waiver.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah.
So one of the questions we often get, Judy, was there any other questions?
I don't believe there was anything else. If there was, please do let me know. But yeah, I think everybody wishes you a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Well, one of the questions you get a lot, Ricky, especially after your presentations, and we kind of cruise through it pretty quickly, is that all great and good that you were able to do this, but how do I help my son or daughter or myself get the same stuff you got? And so just thinking about that question, what would you give them as a piece of advice? That they can work on now.
My piece of advice that I would give you right now, if I tell people all the time, when I'm at a booth or whatever, I always ask them, is your son and daughter on the waiting list? And most of the time people will say, what is that? But I please go ahead and get your son and daughter on the waiting list now.
Absolutely. We tell people that all the time.
So once your son and daughter name does come up on the waiting list, you can say, okay, I want this for my son and daughter. I don't care if they're 5 years old, go ahead and get them on there now, because the waiting list is real long.
15 years.
Yeah.
Yep. 15 years. Yep. So important.
Yeah.
May I don't know if you saw Cynthia Reese's question at the end. She's asking, Ricky, which Medicaid waiver do you have?
We just answered that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't.
HCS. No worries. No worries. I'm glad you're checking.
Yeah. And Ricky, the other thing you had was a circle of support, because you actually got a job before you left the ICF.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The before I left the group home. Oh wow, Norine, you make me think back. I think the very first one I had was I worked at Pizza Hut.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
then,
didn't like that one.
no, I didn't like that one.
But do you remember your own business?
Yeah. Oh, my Get a Life in Texas, and what I did for Get a Life in Texas is I used to sell T-shirts, and on my T-shirts I would have a logo on it that say "Get a Life."
Ah,
Yeah,
I love it.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. You were at the ICF, so you were contracting. You had your own business. It was called Get a Life in Texas. And back in the day when we would go to conferences, the Family to Family conference or the Transition conference or the art conference, and you would have a booth that you were a vendor and you could sell your products and your goods, and you actually did quite well. And but then you got offered a job. Yes. Another job. Yay! And thank goodness, because there's no conferences going on right now, but you're still working.
Yeah.
But I just want to put it out there, that business plan is still there. So if we ever come out of this problem with COVID and conferences start back up again, we have an amazing business plan for someone who wants the business in Texas. So we can help you with that.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
So Ricky, thank you so much. So we're going to go right into Norine Jalloway-Gill. And Norine is the extraordinary leader of a wonderful organization. Again, it's all about collaboration. Family to Family Network has been celebrating 30 years. In fact, save the date, December 3rd. You all will be getting an invitation. We're having a virtual wine event. Don't worry if you don't drink wine. I'm not a wine drinker, so I'll have my strawberry margarita. These programs are grant funded, but they do not cover all of the operating costs of Family to Family Network, and we rely heavily on donations. One of the reasons that we love Imagine Enterprises is because they too believe in meaningful lives for people with disabilities. And I can't tell you the number of times I get phone calls from parents whose children or young adults have graduated and they have done nothing for the last 5, 8, 10 years. And then they're like, okay, let's get them working now. And I'm all for that. But it's really, really hard. And Norine will tell you to get somebody off that living room couch and say, let's go to work and let's now have a schedule when you haven't been doing it for 5 or 10 years. Right, Norine?
That's right.
So I believe that everyone can do something. Everyone can do something. We just have to come together as that's right, Dorian, expectation is key. Everyone can do something. So we just have to come together to make that happen. Norine and Ricky are 2 people, along with Michelle Howard, who make it happen. One of the many reasons I love Norine, besides the fact she loves chocolate, she loves desserts. So Norine, many, many thanks for having you today, and we are so happy to have you present. Again, please hold your questions. We're going to have Norine present for about maybe an hour, and then we're going to have a few questions and try to wrap it up by 12:30 at the latest.
12:30 at the latest?
If that's possible for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'll be fine. I actually thought I was shooting for 12, which is why I jumped in and answered some questions while Ricky was here.
Okay, whatever you can do. I know people are anxious and it's a beautiful day. So
yeah, it is. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
I really do. So this is sort of a picture of how everybody's life is right now. They're all in front of their computers and trying to keep everything going, because this silly guy, COVID-19, has kind of put a dead stop on us. But just, even before then, when before 2020 created so many problems for our lives, people were already busy, and so I think about if we have a school age child, or if we are trying to get through the service delivery system, like my brother, who is now 55 years old, the people who were supposed to be providing us a lot of support seem to be spending a lot of time in doing paperwork. So I want us to kind of put some of that stuff, all those things that keep hitting us in the head and stuff, and maybe take a fresh breath and think about what it is we want to really achieve for our son, our daughter, as well as for ourselves if we're a self-advocate. So if you're a parent of a young person, whether that, a kiddo, still in school or, grade school, or a young adult, I know Michelle talked about, that turning that age 18 and all the changes in Social Security. There's a lot of changes in teenagehood, right? But as a parent, you are worried, usually, and it doesn't really matter if your son or daughter has a disability, right? Any child, you're worried, gosh, what are they going to do? What is their future going to be like? Where am I going to send them? Am I going to be able to afford it? All those questions. Those questions come up also for our family members who have disabilities. And that's kind of a part of I love the idea that someone already presented, that it's all about expectations and creating those expectations. And we're going to jump into that a little bit more. So please keep those chats coming. If you want me to see you, and you can raise your hand too, and I'll let you jump in. So we think of what's going on with the parent or the adults, but now what is the student thinking? Especially if things haven't gone so well so far. And that idea of, am I good enough? Am I good enough to be a part of a club at school? Am I good enough to be a part of a friend of someone? Am I good enough to be able to participate in some kind of activity that's going on in my community? And then there's also kind of fear. I'm not safe in the world. When I go out there, I'm vulnerable. Or if you're angry, if you're one of those people that is always kind of like, if I can't control it, then I can't be there. Or not learning how to accommodate those things. And then, if you're some people may be really unhappy in terms of not being perfect, or maybe not having a lot of friends. And so where is it that we've started to build those friendship circles and things for people as they are young, and before they get to the part where they're a young adult, asking, am I good enough to be able to succeed? And again, these issues are not issues specific to a person with a disability. They really do relate to any young adult who's coming into the age where they're going to be out in the work world. So let's think about turning those ideas, those concepts, those things around, and being, and I think it's probably the most important part is, am I valued? Or I am valued. You're not asking anymore. You know that you're valued because of not just a family member telling you are, but because of everyone who's around you knows you. They respect you as a person and as a friend. And I will tell you that part of what Ricky taught me early on in the process of getting to know him as a person who wanted more than what he was already getting in life, which was, he was pretty much stuck in a group home, is that he wanted to be valued for a person and to have his ideas respected, both as a friend, but also as a person who could have more control over his own life. The other thing I know about Ricky, and this is something that you'll be, if you're ever around him, is that he has a great sense of humor. He can't cook worth a darn, but he does have a good sense of humor, and he does like good food. So
yeah.
That's what we want to achieve. Right, Ricky?
Right.
So what I want to invite all of you to do, and if I was live with you guys, I would ask you, what does this picture mean to you? If you were the person on the other side of that white sheet of paper, what does that picture mean to you when you see it? And given the circumstances that you may be in right now, something that you may be trying to decide, something that you maybe don't know about. I mean, after listening to about Social Security for a long time, it's sort of like, yeah, you want to just rip it apart, right? And just say, why are you making this so hard for me? Right? But seeing beyond whatever that smoke screen or that what that barrier that's up there, because a lot of those barriers that are up there are really attitudes, and the things that get in the way may be things that we might be able to change, push aside, or at least be able to identify what is it that's going on that I can't get this done. So where do we start? We start with our own belief systems, right? Going back to that word values that we saw on that other page. What are our values? What are our belief systems? What is it that are going to create those expectations that a person can be a full contributing member in the community and in society? Are we ready to do that? Is our belief system going to take us there? And that's hugely important for employment, because I will tell you, in my 20, well, probably close to 30 years of working with employers who have hired people with disabilities, when I go into my little, teach me something, is that they, in their experience, if I am promoting an individual with a disability to have a job in the workplace, if I don't believe they can do the job, that employer can tell. That employer can tell that I don't believe that my brother Ed is actually capable of doing the job that I'm now trying to talk an employer into. So unless you believe that the person is actually capable of doing something, and you put it out there and you can show that it is possible, then the other people around you know that. You can't fool them, because that's just the way our humanity is. And when you don't believe, when your beliefs are limiting, when you kind of have, the stack is really low in terms of what you think might happen, then you tend to get maybe angry. Or if you don't get angry, perhaps the person you're working with, your son or your daughter, or whoever, may become angry, because those limitations don't let you figure out, what can I do? Where am I going? And how is this going to work? Anger almost always leads to hurt. And when you're hurt, it's kind of hard to make good decisions. And so then somebody comes up and says, hey, can you help me with this? How about getting a job over here? I got a question the other day, if there were jobs available at PepsiCo for a young man we're working with. And so if I was thinking in terms of what he can't do, which I know what his limitations are, he's a man with intellectual disability and autism, well, then I might go, no, I'm fearful that he would not be able to work in that place. Instead of figuring out, well, is this a place where where it would work? So when we function in fear, we tend to make really bad decisions, okay? And things start to fall apart, and people get hurt. They get hurt in a very, sometimes in a way that we can't see it. And I actually think that when people are not allowed to contribute, not allowed to work, not allowed to be a part of our community, that we are hurting them. We may be taking care of them. We may be feeding them. We may be giving them medical services, but they are not members of our community. And I think that that's really hurtful. And that we've not shared the belief that people are valued and can work and can be contributing. And that actually goes back to even our school situations and the thought of, where are people receiving their education now? In your schools, I have, Ricky and I have, Ricky, this year we expanded our school sites. So we were in 5 schools last year, we're in 7 schools this year, right?
Yes.
And we have been amazed at the number of schools that only provide self-contained.
Yes.
For the students many of the students that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, a few are involved in regular classes.
Yes.
But the vast majority are in only self-contained classes.
Yes.
Only in self-contained classes. Well, let me tell you, and I understand the logic about it, and a lot of that logic might be might go back to that other picture where we're actually making decisions based in fear. But let me tell you how that plays out when a person is out of school 10 years later. This young lady will go she'll create an application for a job that is now owned by a classmate, or that is a manager of the classmate. Let's say, for instance, she goes and when she wants to apply for a job as in bookkeeping at a Kroger's or at a grocery retail place, and her classmate who knew her, or knew about her because they were in the same school 10 years ago, is now the manager of the store, and goes, "Oh no, you were in special ed. You can't work," because nobody can work that was in special ed, because y'all all did your own thing, and you were always separated, always segregated, always over there. We saw you, you saw us, but there was no compadre. There was no friendship. There was no reason for us to be together. So how does that play out in adulthood? Me, as a person without a disability, thinks that all those people with disabilities belong over there in that special wing. And then the person with the disability who's in the special wing think everybody over there, they have a different life. I am too different to be among them. And that just sets up some really, really poor decisions for the rest of our adult life, which is a lot longer than when we're in school. So that's the other part. So, but when I am a Texan, born and bred, by the way. So originally from Corpus Christi, Texas, and educated in Austin, lived there for 22 years, then married my wonderful husband and came here to Seabrook, Texas. But what I've learned is, and thinking about the many years of trying to help people understand how to move forward, is that if we keep on thinking the same old thing, we're going to get the same old results. So it begins with us, and it goes back to that other slide where we say belief. And that's where Judy said earlier on, I believe everyone can work. If you don't have that belief, you're already setting yourself up. Because with that belief, if you are right, you're going to move on. You're going to go light years ahead. With that belief, if you are wrong, then at least you tried. And you'll probably still keep trying. You'll still be trying to figure out what is different that I don't understand yet about this person, that I can't help them find a place to work or to be or to contribute. So that belief is so strong, or could be so strong in people, that it would actually change the world. But it would require us to change what we believe. I did not include this in the slideshow, but I wanted to share it anyway. This is Employment First. You mentioned customized employment. Employment First is actually the nomenclature that is now at the state level. Every single Medicaid waiver, every single agency in Texas, HHS, Health and Human Services, Texas Employment Commission, Texas Workforce Commission, Texas Education Agency, all of those agencies have an Employment First statement. And that statement says that individuals with disabilities should be given the opportunity to work first before being placed in places such as rehabilitation services and in or sheltered workshops. I wanted to quickly, I hope I did this right. I don't know, Judy, do you know Blake? Oops, I'm sorry. You know this gentleman? He's up in y'all's neck of the woods.
What's his last name? Well, you probably don't want to give it. Blake.
Yeah.
I don't think I know him.
Yeah. So Blake is actually on our APSE website, our Texas APSE website, and he's an amazing young man. And this is one of his success stories that we're sharing through the Facebook page.
I love it. I love it.
And there's actually several other stories of Texans with disabilities, intellectual developmental disabilities, who are sharing their success stories through the APSE page. So I will try to get that link to you so you can share it with them, with others. Okay. So that belief system is also what helps us get to the concept of supported employment. And supported employment is a technology, actually, a human technology, so that allows an employment specialist, a person who is, and Ricky mentioned earlier, his support employment specialist, her name is Ashley, right?
Yes.
To provide the correct help and support. You know, Michelle is actually what Summer House does. is supported employment. And another version of that is actually called customized employment. Customized employment expanded on supported employment to include self-employment. So there's all these options now that are coming available. In fact, I have to admit that after a meeting with an employment specialist the other day, I was duly impressed that that Texas Workforce Commission vocational rehabilitation was actually creating some avenues for self-employment that they previously did not have in place. Mm-hmm. So we still need more people to figure out how to do it all, but at least they're trying, and there's some good effort there. But supported employment says, again, it's for individuals with the most significant disabilities. So they come from the belief system that everyone can work. Okay, we aren't talking about individuals who are, there's all kinds of labels we can give, but just but we're talking about individuals who, no matter what their label and what their level of support needs, that there probably is something that they can do to contribute to the community. Supported employment also believes in competitive employment with a wage. All competitive employment really means, to me, although I've heard it defined in other ways recently that kind of surprised me, it basically means it's an integrated job. It's a job that if another person, without a disability would have to do as a part of a job in a workplace. It is a regular job in an integrated setting, and that wages are always at minimum, always, no sub-minimum wage. And so that would be, and wages is an important issue for us. It's always an integrated, work setting. I'm sorry about that. Didn't mean to go on to that. And this is the other thing that I recently had a big discussion with someone is that it includes ongoing support services. Ricky has been working, I guess when you started your own business, it was 2007. How long have you been working for Imagine? What did we decide?
Well, next year, right now, it's been 11 years.
Okay, all right.
It's been 11 years.
So through his HCS Medicaid waiver, when the annual meeting came up, they wanted to know how Ricky's job was going. And so, of course, you gave your report, right?
Right.
Yeah. And they asked, well, do you need any help? And he goes, yes, I have a lot more presentations than I used to have. Can I have somebody help me create presentations in practice? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily something that the employer is responsible for. Okay, except for some of the time within that work, because many of the presentations were ones he already had, but to practice and to be good at it. So his support employment specialist does that and has been doing that now, and that ongoing support is provided through the HCS Medicaid waiver. Mm-hmm. Okay. So supported employment is actually in every single Medicaid waiver in Texas. Only 3% of the people who are in the Medicaid waivers use supported employment. What's wrong with that? I mean, there's a huge waiting list for the Medicaid waivers to begin with, but what are we doing in the system that we are blocking 97% of the people from actually using the waivers? It may be a little bit more, but I know that we have at least the vast majority of people on the Medicaid waivers do not use that service.
And you're right, Norine, if I may interject, so much of it is people don't realize that supported employment is something that's offered through Texas Workforce Commission. They don't realize it, I think. And we did it in my son's job, and the next job he gets, we'll make sure he has it. And people wonder sometimes, why our young adults go from job to job. It's because they need help. Mm-hmm. Employers need to be educated, coworkers need to be educated, and the person with the disability needs extra support. And then those natural supports can fall into place. Mm-hmm. But it's just so frustrating because we all want to succeed and everyone deserves to succeed. So you're absolutely right.
Right. And so you bring up a very important point, Judy, because I think that when there's a combination of all these, this is kind of like this convergence of all these different agencies with all these different responsibilities. Michelle talked to you earlier about the Social Security Administration and all of the stuff for eligibility for Social Security. And then y'all are already very familiar with the services that Ricky uses, which is under the Medicaid waiver, which is HCS. It sounds like someone else is on class. A lot of people are probably on the waiting list, right? But then the agency that you mentioned, Judy, is the Texas Workforce Commission. And the Texas Workforce Commission, specifically vocational rehabilitation, is who that should be supporting people. And again, they also have a specific program called supported employment, that if a person is eligible, and I will share that any person who is a Social Security recipient is eligible for vocational rehabilitation services. Now, you may not find someone who can provide the right kind of support, which is usually a big part of the problem for VR, but they are eligible. And then
that's where organizations like Michelle's come in, because Summer House Houston is a credentialed TWC provider.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they can provide the kinds of supports to achieve this, right? The model that they use, and this is actually kind of the model that we've used for decades now, but it doesn't, the first part is called place and train. Back when we did, basically place and train means is that I know my brother really well, and I know what my brother's skill sets are, and a job position is in a good possible match for him would have been a job at the local city park where there's a lot of outdoor work and big machinery and that kind of stuff going on, and that he all knows how to do those kinds of things, and he likes being outdoors. I know that's going on. There's a potential job opportunity there, and so I place him in that job first, and then I train him, or I wouldn't do it, a support employment specialist would, but he would be then trained to do the duties of that job. That's place first, according to that person's capacities, interests, skills, and abilities. Then once they're placed in the job, then you train them. That takes a lot of sophistication. We're blessed to have people like the staff at Summer House. And there are a few other providers, although I don't know that many from y'all's neck of the woods, but it takes some sophistication to understand how to do that, but it is amazing what it does. Then the part about the training is actually called systematic instruction. And the reason why it's called systematic is that as a trainer, I need to see what the job is, I need to understand what the job is, and then be able to translate it to the individual that I'm teaching, so that I can then get them into the job and have them performing the job with the employer, knowing that the job is getting done. I need to meet that employer's expectations. Then once I'm able to do that, I do what's called fade, where I'm not the person who's working. I'm not the person who the job is for. The person that is working is my brother Ed, or another person or Ricky, or another person that's being that I've supported and I've trained. But then I start, as he gets better at his job, I fade out of that job site, except for circumstances where your support may be needed. And I know some individuals who've needed a lot more, there's some people who need a lot more training and support than others. And so this idea of fading kind of is very, very individualized. Texas Workforce Commission, the vocational rehabilitation is time limited. So they kind of want to exit pretty quickly. Again, if you're on the Medicaid waiver, then you've got that long-term support, which is exactly what Ricky has. You also could fade to natural supports, and that's basically the people at the job site are the ones who take over a good portion of what goes on from day to day. So let's see. Oh, I thought I added another picture. Oh, I did. I added another picture. I wanted to show off my brother Ed. And Ed actually has self-employment. He is, so we've been so lucky because during COVID, we've continued to sell our planters that he sells. He's done a bunch of business on Facebook. People order things from him and he goes and drives by and drops it off at their door. And then, they usually leave a check for him or something. So he's been able to make deposits. He also he started a shredding business before he came to live with me. And so he loves shredding. So that's just a part of his life and he was doing that long before he came to live with my husband and myself in Seabrook. And so it's sort of like, well, we'll keep it as a part of your life. Well, he's got about 5 steady customers. So he has continued to just keep that business going as well. So we've been very fortunate during COVID because that's happened. We've been able to keep that rolling because of self-employment. As recently, and this is like within the past month, he's a real good buddies with our guy. I was mentioning the park earlier. And so in his love of being outdoors. So his good buddy, Rudy, called him that they were doing the fall tree trimming. So he wanted to know if Edward would come over and help. And so Edward was like, sure. So here's Edward. You can notice here it says Kubota, a Kubota tractor. And I wasn't there. He was there actually with one of his support staff because we use the HCS waiver also. And they had trimmed up the trees. He's loading up the trees. And the funny story about Ed was that while Ed was, Rudy said, okay, let's go. And they jumped in the truck and then they hit it. It's a kind of a tractor trailer kind of setup. And so they headed over to where they dump it and they emptied it and everything. But and the staff person was just literally left there standing going, okay, I guess they're leaving. So that was the first pleasant surprise for him. Well, the second pleasant surprise for him was when the truck came back, Edward was driving. So what Edward loves to drive tractors and trailers. It's something that he learned on the farm a long time ago. It is he always talks about, he loves golf carts because he can drive a golf cart because those are really simple. And so that was, I think that the staff person kind of had a little, because he hadn't seen that yet. But it was this huge celebration because it was totally possible. I will also share with you that when I have all of Ed's files and stuff, and I was looking at them the other day, and I pulled up his psychological from when he was in school, when he was in high school, and his IQ score was 22. And when people referred to his mental age, they would say a 3 to 5 year old. I would be devastated if anybody ever referred to my brother in that manner. And obviously, people are so much more than an IQ score. And mental age, I don't know. I'm not really sure why people even do that anymore. But I actually just heard it. I guess I was helping another family, and a teacher came out with a mental age thing, and I was just like, please don't do that. It's so unfair. So perspective and expectations, keeping it together. All right. So I do have time to do this. I'm so excited. And so what I want each of you to do, and I can't see your faces, but you're certainly there at home, and you can certainly just think about it and think about this kind of as a visualization kind of idea. And then I want you to kind of get in a quiet spot if you can. If you got a lot of noise going on, kind of try to find a place to calm down a little bit, because I want you to be able to dream. And my Virginia Ernest, who was one of my mentors, she basically said, we've been beating people up for so long about having a son or a daughter with a disability and telling them so many bad things that they have forgotten how to dream. So I want you to take this opportunity to think about, or to be able to visualize and maybe dream about the future. Okay? Your voice, your choice, your future. Right, Ricky?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to go on a helicopter ride. The helicopter is in your front yard, right? Or your driveway, or somewhere in the middle of the street right in front of your house. So you're going to go on a helicopter ride. There the helicopter is, and there you are. You're going to climb into the helicopter with your son, your daughter, or the person you're supporting, and you're going to lift off. And as you lift up and you're going up and up and up and up, your house is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the neighborhood around you, you can see more and more and more. And you go, oh my gosh, hasn't my neighborhood really changed over the last few years? Look at all these houses, all these businesses, all these places. But that helicopter takes you 3 or 4 or 5 miles up to where it just stops up there in the sky, and you're just hovering. And you're thinking, and then all of a sudden there's a time change, and you are no longer in 2020, you are now in 2025, right? 5 years from now. So this is, think of you being 5 years older, your son, your daughter being 5 years older. I'm going to be well into Medicare in 5 years, you know, so there's going to be, you know, think of that 5 years from now, at least 5 years. Okay, that's doable. That should be doable for you. And you're still up in the helicopter now. You're still hovering ahead. So, but it's 2025 and you look down. What do you see? Do you see the same house? Do you see the same neighborhood? Do you see the same businesses? Or are you somewhere else? Or has something new happened about where your house is located, where you're located, and what's going on in your neighborhood, what's going on in your community, and where you're located? Where is your home? And now we want to even narrow it down even more, and that you want to think about not so much just yourself. Where is your son or your daughter or the person you're supporting in 2025? Where will they be? Where is their home? Are they still living with you? Or are they living with someone else? Or are they in another space? Have they gone on to Texas A&M, to the college program there, or Texas Tech? Okay. Where are they? Are they at work? Out of all of the things you see, if your house is still there, then where is the job that they're connected to? How are they getting there? What are they doing for their unscheduled time, their recreation? Are they going to an Astros game, Ricky?
Yeah.
Are they taking a drive down the Texas City Dike, which is, I know, something that you do when you have just free time and you want to go out and breathe fresh air, right? Are they, I mentioned school already. Did they go on to a school somewhere else? Or if they're involved in church now, will they still be involved in church? What will their life look like? And thinking about that big picture is kind of scary. It's sort of like, gosh, I don't know. But that's where you need to dream. And that's where the dreaming and the expectations start to really pay off, is what's going on up there. And then how are we going to get there? So everybody, your helicopter comes back down. You're in the middle of your neighborhood street and you get dropped off and you go, oh my gosh, what just happened? Wow, did I have this incredible dream? I had this incredible thought. And my brother Ed was at the marketplace where he was selling his driftwood planters for $70 a planter. Wow, that's so cool. And he was actually still shredding for his, these 5 new customers that he got. So it's like, wow, this is really neat. And while he was doing this job, he got asked to go to another marketplace. is practicing safe distancing and doing, I have all the rules in place so that it happens. So that dream is so important, because once you create that dream, then that's going to impact your plan for how you plan for the future. So I encourage all of you to go for helicopter rides. They're so cool if you've never been in a helicopter. So they're really a lot of fun. And always think about dreaming for the future. Ricky, your wheelchair is a little bit too heavy to get into a helicopter.
Right? It's way too heavy to get in the helicopter.
Yeah, Ricky and I went on a trip to the Virgin Islands, and that's almost 3 years ago, and they tried to put him in a float plane, but they figured out that they couldn't get a 450-pound wheelchair. They could get Ricky in the float plane, but not the wheelchair.
Yeah, there you go.
So in your handouts, when y'all got things from you, Judy, did you send them the SWOT analysis also? Okay, so y'all should have that. If you have the SWOT page, let me see if I have it. Is this it? It might be it. Yep, it looks something like that, similar to that. If you should have a page that looks similar to this, but if you don't have it, all you need is a sheet of paper. But you need to get ready to work, because this is where you're going to take your dream that you've all been working on, and you're going to start writing a few things down. And that's an expectation. And Judy expects you to do it, and she wants you to turn in your homework at the end of the presentation, right?
Very funny, Norine. Very, very funny. But yes, they did receive that information twice, on Tuesday and yesterday.
Oh. Hey, you know what? Do that would be so cool. Wouldn't it be fun if people actually did that? Remember those, we had some teachers once that did that with us, one of the students that they were there with. It was so amazing.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. So I encourage you to do that, and I will give Family to Family a $50 donation if anybody does that for you, Judy. Yeah.
Challenge is on. Go,
yeah. How much is that sponsorship, by the way? Or
the first one is $500.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll take that back to my board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You are the best.
But the $50 challenge is on. If any of you give Judy a SWOT analysis after, and you can keep working on it even past the presentation, Family to Family just earned $50. All right.
Well, thank you. I love it. You're a gem.
So there are lots of assessments that schools do, and lots of assessments that the Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehabilitation does. There's a mammoth assessment that the Health and Human Services Agency, the Intellectual Developmental Disability Local Authority Service Coordinator does on Edward. I mean, that thing is huge. I mean, it just keeps 42 pages or something. I'm like going, yeah. So, and read those things, by the way, because I make sure they all are accurate, or weird stuff happens. This is a very simple way to think about how to translate my dream into reality. How do I get from my helicopter ride to thinking about what's going to make sense for myself, my son, or daughter? And this is actually a systematic, the SWOT analysis actually comes from business models. If you put SWOT analysis into Google, it'll all be related to business. So when you go, if you're a business owner, which hopefully some of you are, if you're a business owner and a business wants to grow, or start a plan for the future, one of the ways they start is by doing a SWOT analysis. It's just basic. And so I think it applies to people really well. And it applies to us when we're thinking about how do I work through, the assessment stuff. Yes, some of it's very important, but how do I actually make it meaningful to myself? So what we look at are our strengths, our weaknesses. So people want to call it challenges, which is great, but then the acronym is all wrong. Then it'd be SCOT instead of SWOT. Or our opportunities. The next thing we look at is our opportunities. And then the final thing we look at, what are the threats that are there that would not allow us to succeed? So strengths and weaknesses are things that happen internally, Okay, these are things that are about us, about me. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? One of my strengths is that I am compassionate about people with disabilities. I am well-versed in a lot of the agency stuff, and I like to share information. One of my weaknesses is that I really hate doing the detail work. I really hate doing all the, kind of what it takes when we're in a contract. So what do? I hire a person, or I make friends with a person who can compensate for my weakness, right? They're really good at this. That's why I hired Cheryl Harris. So, because she's really good at what she does. So this is internal, okay? And then the external stuff, though, what are the other things out there that are going to help us or hinder us? Those are our opportunities. Okay, that's what's out there waiting for us to go to. And then our threats are the things that are going to, beat us up along the way, that people saying no to us are, or just the system sometimes, okay, that gets in the way of us being able to do what we want to do. So that's a really quick explanation of it. Obviously, strengths and opportunities are very favorable. Looking at the positive side. Looking at the positive side is great, but we also need to look at those things that might get in the way, whether it's internal or external. Most of the time, though, what I find is that people, when you start talking, it's probably changed a lot especially with your group, Judy, because you've spent a lot of time nurturing positive thinking. And that's
Yes.
so important. Yeah, but when I have to do training with teachers or professionals, this is usually what I get.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of an evaluation that starts off with all of their deficits. Well, great. Now tell me what they can do. I can't do anything. I want to know what to do with that. Tell me what they can do. So that's where what this it's kind of looking at it in a very balanced approach. Because if you ignore something like this, or this, then it might cause a problem. So it's looking at it in a very balanced approach. Take out your sheet of paper, right? And I wish I had one of the little timers that Ashley uses for our classes. Ricky, I need to upgrade our presentation. But the first thing I want you to do is think about the person you're supporting, whether it's your son, your daughter. In my case, it would be Ed, or it may be Ricky, or it may be several other people that I'm attached to, right? And I want to think about, what are their strengths? What are the things that this this man or this woman can do and do pretty well? And I, especially the person that's going to, the people that are going to turn in their strengths and weaknesses and stuff to Judy, so that I send her $50.
Yeah, thank you again.
I tell you what, I'll send you $50 for the first one that comes in, and I'll send you $5 more for any extra ones that come in.
I understand.
Okay.
Perfect.
Up to $100.
Okay.
So we just upped it. So what I don't want you to write is, he's a really nice guy, or she's a really nice girl. Okay, we're going to take that for granted. Okay. I want you to write things that are meaningful. Like, for instance, getting on time, having a sense of time. And knowing time is hugely important, especially for a person in the work world. Knowing that and taking the responsibility to be on time is huge. Being able to draw and being really, not just big, broad brushes, but really intricate, describe it. Drawing, what is it that they do? Or while they're thinking, they're doodling. And you may not think they're listening, but they're really doing, but that they draw, and they like to have things in their hands. Working until a task is complete, that everything gets shut off. And even if they work until 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning because they want to get this done, that this is the kind of person this is. Oops, sorry. Following directions, doing a task, and how they do the task is even better, but doing a task, being able to complete, as long as you support them, yes, they'll complete that task. They just need a verbal support or a model support. Even people with collections and liking to do Lego assembly, liking to do sewing, liking to do bracelets. All of you guys are writing down your own stuff about while I'm rambling through this, but you're writing the strengths for the person you're supporting. If they enjoy sports, but not only enjoying it, but actually being able to do it. If they are a person who is likes, like Edward, for instance, his big sport is golf. So, you know, he also likes writing, but likes that environment, likes being in that environment as well. I actually think, let's see, even the being able to complete chores, I put cleans their room and is very tidy. But being able to complete chores, if it's any chore, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, laundry, being able to complete chores and do those chores, or even better yet, having a preference for a chore, that's a good sign. Not only the next one is about earning money. If there's a person that if your son or daughter has likes to earn money, they know what money is, that's a good thing. If that's the reinforcer, is that they get money and they know that it's a check or that it's a cash or whatever, that's good to know. And it's valuable information for any employment specialist that would be working with you. Even things like, this is maybe a chore, enjoys cooking, especially if they have a specific meal that they like or something that they want to share. If I could, if we had time, which I don't think we do, I would ask each of you to name at least one strength. If I was in it, but hopefully I can't see y'all. If y'all turn on your cameras, can I see can y'all give me a heads up that they've completed it?
Some of them do, Norine, but it's because you're sharing your screen that you don't see them.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
So I just give y'all a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, throw it into the chat box. And maybe we'll look at that.
So if you could name the strength of your loved one, just write it in the chat box and I'll read it off for Norine. So I can tell you that the strength of Ryan's, my son, he has tremendous attention to detail. So
Awesome.
when he was doing, entering data into spreadsheets, he could pick out a couple of the mistakes.
Yeah,
He
well,
knew.
and is that a valuable skill to an employer, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff and Lisa wrote detail oriented here too. That's a huge asset.
Yeah.
Social musical, takes out trash. Gosh, really important.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, good. So you guys are on the way to thinking through some really positive stuff and to earning $50 for family to family.
Yay.
Yay. Good. So does anybody need any help? Oh,
Sews
Gia
and cooks.
Edwards says sews and cooks.
That's fabulous.
Oh, wow. Those are
That's
amazing.
huge.
Those are great skills. And it's sometimes, that may never even come up in a school evaluation.
Artistic. And that's really great because that shows a sign of creativity.
Yeah. Being able to think beyond. Okay. All right. Good job, everybody. Y'all are awesome. That's great. That is great feedback. So let's get into the weaknesses. And weaknesses,
loves numbers. Yes, we know about numbers, Mid.
Talks to numbers. Oh my goodness. Linux. Computers. All right. That's cool. So good work. So now let's talk about the weaknesses parts, because I think that when you get into the weaknesses, sometimes we want to get into the diagnostic stuff. Well, diagnostic stuff sometimes can be okay, but really I'm talking about real, how you see it as mom and dad and brother and sister. What is it that they can and can't do? And what are their, what are their kind of their limits? This one, the anxiety. It's supposed to schedule a certain way, and if it doesn't go that way, then things don't go well. Getting upset when there's loud or sudden noises. An issue like a seizure disorder, getting sick often, and not being clear about how that would work in a workplace. The difficulty communicating is probably the one that is the most frequently listed. That could be because the verbal communication is very limited, or because of they haven't had access to an augmented communication device, or they haven't figured out another way to communicate. So difficulty communicating is often there. Depends on others to make decisions, or they may not depend on others to make decisions. They make their own decisions, but the decisions tend to be poor. That they tend to go off down a path that is results in more anger and more frustration. I have worked with people who get easily frustrated, bite hands, or would be considered self-injurious. And then or if a person has physical limitations, might have cerebral palsy, might have some other condition, that they are difficult to present to others because of that manifestation. Or people who are touch adverse. They don't want to be touched. They don't want to be hugged. They stay away. Or they could be just an individual that needs daily reminders. And that, or kind of a structured way to be able to receive information such that they can depend on it and it's reliable. So thinking about the limitations that a person might have, or where they might need additional support. The other way that I have heard in person-centered planning, when we've talked about what do we need to be cautious about, what do we need to be aware of, and sometimes the question that gets asked is, what is your worst nightmare as a parent? And addressing what that could be is, and a lot of that tends to be stuff along safety. That there may be issues that really raises your flags, and that you want to make sure that those are addressed. So this would be likely that place where you can address that. You can also address it under the threats from the outside as well. And we'll get to that soon. So take a minute or two, and if you can, send me some stuff in the chat box. That way I know that you guys have moved along. Gia said loves to vacuum. That's cool. I know where you can use that.
Like that.
And by the way, if you're working with an employment specialist at the school, bring him the SWOT analysis and say, here, you need this information.
So Dorian,
distracted, requires time motivation.
Slow processing,
please.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You can see that. Okay.
Yeah. Bimanual dexterity challenges. Oh, and anxiety.
Abrasive. Yeah, I understand that, Gia. Can be lack patience, shall we say. Yeah, comes across. Yeah, I understand that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So those present a lot of challenges then, and it's how to compensate for that, but also how to put people in the right environment so that those things that may be challenges actually become either are muted to where it's no longer a challenge because we've removed the stimulation that would cause that, or you remove the situation where where it's no longer an issue. Like for instance, Ricky, is it okay if I use you as an example?
Yes.
Yeah. Your mobility is a huge challenge, right? Yeah. And so if Ricky's doing presentations in a lot of places and he needs to get somewhere, up until the point where we were able to purchase his own van, so where he gets somewhere, it was next to impossible to get him to places on time.
Right.
So mobility, transportation, and having the right equipment was really a big challenge because of this of your cerebral palsy. And so so consequently, being able to ameliorate that, to have the right kind of accommodations or to have the right kind of equipment so that we could overcome that challenge. But also, I mean, you know, we've told a couple of hotels that they need to get their stuff together and accessible hotels with accessible rooms. So,
that is true.
Yeah, we do a lot of advocating. Great, good. Okay, there's a couple of more. My daughter loves to draw. She's 18 now, but when she was a second grader, teacher thought I did her artwork for her. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I would love to see a drawing. That sounds cool. So you guys have those ideas in mind. And there's, you know, the other story that I think of often is a young man who I worked with a long time ago, and he had the worst personal hygiene ever. But when he went to work, he actually worked at a huge truck area where there was a bunch of machines, and he was actually just helped clean out the back of the trucks and make sure that everything was ready for the drivers when they were making shift changes, so that everything was so they didn't care how you smelled. And so part of his job was kind of taking the hygiene was not important to those guys that he was working with because of the kind of job he had. And you know, so there are ways to think through how we accommodate those things. Okay, so the next big challenge for you is going to be under opportunities. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. But I am so glad that you guys gave us some things under strengths, because that's going to help us with identifying opportunities. So let's, for instance, take, can we keep LaShonda, is that right? Am I pronouncing your name right? LaShonda Huff. Can we use your daughter as an example? Is that okay? You see that? I hope it is. Okay, thank you. So let's look at that example of she loves to draw, and that is something that we know about LaShonda, and that that drawing is a gift that she has, and she's able to do it very well. Thinking about drawing and all the things that you guys that we see every day. I mean, drawing may even include like this. It's a graphic symbol of what opportunities is. But thinking about drawing and what you see every day, what would be jobs that a person could do besides just the generic artist? But if you're thinking about actual drawing or drawing skills and being creative, where would drawing be be the skill that a person must have in order to have a job? Where would drawing be used? Any ideas? Graphic artists, advertising. Thank you. Graphic design. Awesome. What about retail places? The places that have the big windows where that's what that they have all of the setup. Their setup, and a lot of the times the drawing and the setup requires not just the mannequin and putting the clothes on, but also all the things around. What does it look like? The setting up, set design, like in theater. Yeah, cool. Digital art, awesome. Retail, cool. Yeah. Okay. Coffee shops, bakery windows. Oh, the signs. Yeah. On the windows themselves. Very good. The Container Store. That's great. Signage. Okay. And so cool. You guys are awesome. Look at all those great ideas. So from that one idea, one little comment that we got, we're already starting to think, where do we take this skill and use it? Designers are needed for software technology, biomedical equipment, and tools. Cool. Very neat. creating logos, creating ways for people to identify places. So as an employment specialist, what I would do is I would look at that list and I'd go, oh my goodness, here's a person who has this skill. How do we mold that into an actual job skill, and a job skill that can be used in our community, okay, or in our area? When our big national consultants think about this idea of opportunities, what they suggest is you think of 3 themes in a person's life. For LaShonda's daughter, right? The one thing she's thinking of is art. And under that theme, you have all of these ideas, okay? Another theme maybe is that how tidy they are, or how detailed they are at home, or they do a lot of chores, they do a lot of things like that. So they may be a person who is an organizer, or a person who is more of a, oh, the word just escaped me. I hate that when that happens. The people who kind of keep things in a more orderly, the container store is still coming back to my mind, because when I go in there, I see all these neat, tidy rows of things, and I spend too much time in the container store if I ever get caught there. So that could be a theme in terms of their ability to organize, and their ability to, or even their ability to clean. So they're looking at those specific things and then thinking of it as a theme. And then what you want to do next, think of at least 3 themes in a personal life, because if you just think of one, then you're going to get stuck. You're not going to go as far as you could. If you think of 2, then you're doing better, but it's still, you're still not giving all the possible options. But if you think of 3 themes in a person's life, then you're looking at probably being able to hit on 1 or 2 things maybe that they would be very good at. In this case, we did athletics, for instance. So they really love the sports, so athletics would be a theme. So then you identify any of the nearby businesses. And again, this is that helicopter ride. And this is what an employment specialist would do. Is that you present them with these kind of ideas. They're going to go out there looking for, where can I find places that would use cooking and culinary arts? The local deli, Arlen's has a deli, the local grocery store, Robinette Catering is just down the street. These are all ideas around ed. The organizer, the container store, the local gift shop, even the florist. If you're drawing or artist, Michael's, the frame shop, Texas Art Supply. But y'all had actually a lot more ideas than we have on this list. Athletics, there's the Putt-Putt Playhouse, there's Topgolf, and there's several other places that are nearby. So when an employment specialist looks at themes, what we should be doing is identifying 10 to 20 employers per theme to think about, where is this person going to work? But so if you've got 3, that's 60 potential employers. Most of the time when I work with employment specialists and doing training, they're able to identify 20 employers for a theme. And so it's possible. It's possible, and it's out there. Then the last part is to identify those threats. Y'all have already been identifying, y'all been identifying threats all your life already. So this list we don't have to spend a lot of time on. You know those threats are out there. But I will tell you that employers do hire people who will do the job. That's what we have to believe. And if we believe it, that employer is going to take that chance, because I tell you what, a lot of employers have told me that they probably have many people on their workforce that have a disability. They just don't know it.
Sure.
Okay. So, and that other things have happened. Other things that they go, well, what do you think? I just born yesterday, kind of thing. Especially some of the employers have been around for a while. What we can't do as employment specialists is go in and ask them for this as a favor, because that's the best way to lose a job. They're there to make money. We need to respect that as what they're an employer to make money, and that And so what we need to do is say, well, you know, you've got a job to be done. And it'll be just like my brother and his friend Rudy calling and saying, hey, I've got a bunch of tree limb, you know, doing all that. Can you come over and help? Yeah. So he came over and helped. And then he got to drive the Kubota truck. So that's cool stuff. So yeah, there's lots of things that will get in the way. But that is the SWOT analysis. And I actually use it still if I'm just trying to get people through a thinking process instead of getting stuck, because people will usually get stuck under threats before they think of all the other stuff before. And supported employment does require people who have talent to negotiate through the threats. And that's what you use a supported employment specialist for. You also use your circle of support for it. 85% of most jobs in supported employment are found by the family and the family's network. And I think I got that from some national study that was done on supported employment out of Washington State, I believe. So knowing that you are the major connection, that you're the person who's dreaming and thinking and doing the work, then it's very, very important. Okay. Whew. Yay. 12:20. Did anybody finish their or do their SWOT analysis? Are they still working on it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I think we're doing well with it. So many, many, many thanks to Norine. And I think it's really hard because, you know, so often when, you know, someone is diagnosed with a disability, we tend to look at the disability. Well, we need to look at what they can do, and we need to see what their strengths are. And when we're finding a job for them, there's so much that people can do. Mangala wrote, my son likes cooking, but he does not have the speed. How can he overcome this weakness? Mangala, I think one way to do that is that he works shifts, and maybe Norine has an idea on this too. He works in those off shifts. He shouldn't work during the lunch hour. Maybe he works from like a 2 to 4. Or maybe he does prep work and comes in early and does the prep so that when he gets it done and nobody's actually waiting for him. So, but those are ways usually around the speed process of it.
Yeah. And so what we have found is also when you're working, especially in the cooking world, is the job, it's called the job match. You want to have a place that matches, for one, kind of what your son is interested in cooking, you know, what it is that he's doing, but you don't necessarily want to do it in a fast food place. If the issue is speed, you may want to do it in a place that is going to be able to, one, figure out, you know, how to accommodate the speed, but also there, Judy, actually, your reference was really good. It may be one that does a lot of prep, but the prep and the, and or an employer that might be really interested, and what it looks like is more important to me than how fast he comes out with it.
Right.
So you know, that idea of coming up with the 20 employers is that if people are just doing placements at Whataburger because Whataburger hires people with disabilities, that's too limiting. There's so many incredible places that will hire people with disabilities if they can do the job, if it's a job that matches and it fits in that environment.
Well,
so, the other thing that we have found is that a lot of times when we've started a person on at a particular place doing work like you're mentioning, and there was a young lady that actually was working in a hotel in the cooking area because they have to do all the setup and everything and all the cleanup and all that stuff. Well, she started off with maybe doing just a pretty limited list of tasks, but they had to get done every day in a certain way. Well, as other staff left, she eventually became in control over an entire section of the breakfast setup because she knew how to do it all, but she didn't start that way. And she was also She was a small person, so we had to figure out ways to get things going. But she had some challenges for sure. But it was one of those things that she just kind of kept going and kept going. And so she's been there for, I think, about 17 years.
But yeah, food service is so much of it who the employer is, but it's working in those off times, either at night or in the mid-afternoon or the early morning hours, and maybe doing the prep work, cutting up the vegetables, cleaning the fruit, putting the leaf lettuce on the trays, things like that. There's a French term called mise en place, and basically it means prep.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. I just, want to see if it's possible. I want to pursue
possible. It is possible. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
want to thank Norine. Oh, thank you, Mangala. I want to thank Norine so much. And you can reach out to Norine. She's a great, great resource. I've included the survey link again, and I'm going to include the advocacy and documenting form once again. And what I would like you to do is, like I said, just put your name and if you talk to somebody, if you emailed somebody, anything, just print off the form, complete it, text it to me, scan it and email it to me, whatever's easiest to you. There's no right or wrong answer. Most people usually put, 1 or 2 hours that they discussed what we went over in classes with somebody. And, but if you could complete that, I would really, really appreciate it. Otherwise, Christina will be calling you and asking you to please turn it in. But please complete the survey. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. I am so grateful to everyone for joining us today. I truly, truly appreciate it. I love it. Keep calm and chive on. I love it. So I have a little sign in my kitchen that says keep calm and bake on. Because
I like that.
I love to bake.
I'm missing my chocolate.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Me too, boy. I'm telling you. It's like,
I know. I know.
I'm going into withdrawal.
I know. I know. So let me make sure there's no final questions in the chat box. I don't think so. Christina says, thank you all. And many thanks to all of you for joining us. There is Norine and Ricky's contact information. Feel free to reach out to them. No one expects you to do this alone. I have had so many mentors helping me on my journey, and I try to pay it forward by helping and serving others. We all need help. And it's just a fact of life, and that's okay. And but that's why we're all in this together. And I thank you all for being a part of this. Just an FYI, I attached Sammy's SWOT analysis. I also emailed you. Perfect. Thank you so much, Dorian. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. Yep. We sure did. Yay. Thank you. So on Wednesday, November 18th, Boyd Handley, I will include that as well. He is going to be talking about special needs trusts, another very, very important topic. So I'm going to put the flyer in the chat box real quick. Hold on, that's one thing I have learned how to do. I'm very proud of myself, I might add. There we go. So you can go ahead and register for that, another free training brought to you by Family to Family Network. I sound like an infomercial. And I will go ahead and also put the link if you would like to register. So Boyd is an attorney, and I really respect him a lot. And he is going to be talking about special needs trusts. What are they? And how you can protect your loved one with a special needs trust. Again, it's really, really important information. So I have just included the image and the link. If you would like to join us on December 3rd for our virtual wine tasting, I will include that link as well. I will also be posting it on Facebook a million times because we need the support and we would love to have you join us. So let me go ahead and do that as well. And if you can't join us, we totally understand. We know you are uber busy. And if you want to make a donation, I will include that link as well. So let me go ahead and do that. And I thank you all so, so much for joining us. I know your time is so valuable. I hope you've enjoyed these trainings. I truly am grateful for all that I do and could not do it without all of you. If you ever have any questions, you know how to reach Christina and you know how to reach myself, either by phone, by email, or on Facebook. Many thanks to all of you. We truly appreciate you joining us today. Norine and Ricky, thank you. And many thanks to the class.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Norine.